Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the kitchen. As you know, before you begin cooking, make sure you have adult supervision and permission. I have my mother with me, and we're going to do a little cooking and culture. We're from West Virginia originally, which has a high Italian population. So we're going to do some Italian-style lasagna for this recipe. And so my mother actually is going to do it, and I'm just going to be her assistant chef. I'm going to go ahead and preheat the induction cooktop. Do we want to put some olive oil in first, or do you want to add?
Just a little olive oil.
So tell me when.
That's enough.
I'll do one more for good measure. And so the first thing that she's adding are the red onions. Now, you do not have to use red onions. It's just my personal preference.
Yes, because I like white onions.
And we have a mix of bell peppers. And these are sweet peppers. These are red peppers, yellow peppers, and orange peppers.
And this is garlic.
And it's fresh garlic. Again, you don't have to use fresh. As we proceed on with Foods 1, we'll talk more about how you can substitute fresh garlic from powdered garlic, but you can also use jarred garlic if that's what you have available. So we're going to saute these until the onions and peppers begin to cook down, and the onions should probably become translucent before we do anything else. So I'm going to move this down so that y'all can see inside the pot. As she's stirring inside the pot right there, so you can kind of see what's going on. So at this stage, we're going to add some fire roasted tomatoes.
And I'm just going to let it simmer for about 5 or 10 minutes.
And then you add your remaining. And then she adds the remaining tomato sauce that she uses in this recipe. Alright, she's ready to move on with her next step. And you can see the sauce is starting to come to a boil. It's not at a rapid boil, but it's starting to come, so we're about 200 and some degrees there. We know at 212 degrees, water begins to boil. Here's your other jar. And my mother likes to add a little water to her sauce, so I'm going to add water to her other jars, so that way nothing goes to waste. And it kind of thins out because as we cook, this is going to cook, she said, for an hour and a half. And so some of that moisture is going to reduce out.
Now these are all my spices.
My mother uses the pre-packaged spaghetti mix, so as we get into convenience foods, this is a great example of a convenience item that you can use in your recipe. For saving time.
And it helps to thicken your spaghetti sauce as well, because you're going to let it cook for at least an hour.
And remember, tomatoes have natural pectin as well, so as it cooks, it is going to cook down because of the natural pectin.
Now I just added some sugar, not salt, sugar.
And that was about 2 to 3 tablespoons worth.
Okay.
So the sauce has simmered for about, let's say about 35 minutes, and so now we're ready to move on to our next step. And this is ricotta cheese. So if you wanted to make homemade ricotta, you take whole milk, some salt, and some acids such as vinegar, or I would recommend vinegar. And that way it would cause the milk to curdle, and then you'd have the ricotta cheese. And now this step is new to me, ladies and gentlemen. I've never done this before. My mother adds Philadelphia cream cheese to her recipe. She didn't do this when I was growing up. But as we get older, our recipes evolve, our tastes change, and we do what works for our family situation. And this is an evolved recipe. As you get older, some of your recipes that you will do within your family will evolve to your personal preferences. So we're going to stir in the ricotta cheese and the cream cheese, and the sauce is going to continue to simmer for the next 20 minutes or so. At this stage, I'm going to go ahead and start pre-cooking our noodles. You'll notice in the background there's a pot that I have ready with simmering water, so I'm going to cook the noodles until they become pliable, so that way we can easily put them into the pan. So during this stage, my mother is beginning to cook her meat. She's using ground turkey and turkey sausage and turkey pepperoni within this lasagna. So at this stage, my mom's adding her Parmesan cheese. Now we're just using the store-bought Kraft Parmesan cheese. We're not using fresh grated Parmesan, and that's okay. Now we have ground turkey. We're going to cook the ground turkey till it reaches 165 degrees internal temperature. And we're going to keep our thermometer in for 15 seconds just to ensure that we're at the 115 degrees. So if the temperature is not right, do not bite. But we also know that the meat's going to continue to cook once we put it in the oven. So, are we ready to add it?
We're ready.
And again, this is Italian turkey sausage. It's also pepperoni and a ground turkey meat. Now again, you can use ground beef if you want. You can use Italian sausage if you like to use that as well.
Now we oil our pan with some olive oil, and because you want the sides to be covered as well, you take a paper towel and spread the oil all the way around.
So she's using a glass casserole dish. I'm going to be using my cast iron pan. So my mother and I are going to work together like we would be if we were in lab groups, working cooperatively in order to achieve our task. So she's going to add the noodles to the pan. And you'll see she's cutting the noodles with kitchen shears in order to have the noodles fit the pan. And then I'm going to sauce, and she's going to add noodles to the other pan. And just tell me how much sauce I need to put in here. Mom.
Go ahead.
How many ladles?
Okay, spread that around. Just a little bit more. Okay, now you're going to add your cheese.
And how much cheese do I add?
Just grab a handful. Sprinkle some of your Parmesan.
No more cheese, no more of this cheese?
Not at the moment.
Okay. And then we're going to rebuild the next layer. So we've put we're going to do our next layer. And our noodles on the first layer are going this direction. And then our noodles for the second direction are going this way. So again, another layer of sauce. spread out. And then we're going to repeat this for our last layer as well. Another layer of cheese. And you want to make sure that you spread your cheese out evenly. And this is the Italian and the Kobe blend. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit more Parmesan cheese on here. Alright, so we're going to do our last layer of cheese.
Now, when it comes out of the oven, you're going to add some more cheese, more than likely. It just depends.
And then I'm going to take some aluminum foil and cover it. Now my oven's set to 350 degrees. And this is going to bake for about 1 hour in the oven.
Now you want to fill it as much as you, all the way around, as much as you can.
And we're going to do our last layer on the cast iron pan. And we're going to repeat the same step. We're going to add our cheese. And our Parmesan.
Yeah, I was going to tell you to put some right there. Okay.
So just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I know everything. See, my mother had to fix me up. And I'm thankful for that because, again, there are things I just don't know how to do, and this was one of the recipes that I've only made once without her, and it didn't turn out right. So again, this is my mom, and I'll show you a look-see of the finished product when it's done. Once you remove your lasagna from the oven, allow it time to rest, about 10 to 15 minutes. That way it has time to set up. Happy cooking, ladies and gentlemen.